Good morning, everyone. So I'm a teacher at Rajapat Sarin, and I will tell you a story about Belgium. Do you know Belgium? Yes. Where is Belgium? Where? Where is Belgium? Do you know? Europe. Next to which country? France? Belgium is next to Belgium? No, Belgium is next to France, the Netherlands, and Luxembourg, and Germany. But Belgium is very small, okay? And our country was founded in 1830, so it's a very new country. So it was very hard to find a story, but I found one, okay? I wanted to have some students to act with me. My students, they live very far, so I made a photo slideshow of my students acting out. Okay? So can we have the lights shut up? Can we turn off the lights? Yes, but we cannot see. Can? Okay. So my story is called Charlemagne and the Robber. Charlemagne was a king. Okay? Okay, so once upon a time there was a king. His name was Charlemagne. He had a very big castle in Belgium in which he really loved to live because from his castle he could see the mountains, the river, and the hills. One evening he was sleeping. He was in a very deep sleep. An angel came to his dream. The angel was wearing a very beautiful dress, pretty clothes, and around her head was light. While approaching the bed of the sleeping king, the angel said, "Wake up, king! Wake up and get dressed. Take your helmet and sword. You have to rob something of yourself, of your kingdom." Charlemagne woke up in shock. The dream, it was kind of strange, because it seemed so impossible for a king to be commanded to be a robber. So he went back to sleep. The angel appeared again, and standing by the side of his bed, she stretched out his hand and said, "Wake up, my king! Wake up as I have told you before, do not sleep. Get yourself into the forest and steal from your kingdom. You will resent it forever if you disobey my words." Suddenly, the angel was gone. Charlemagne woke up from his sleep and rose from his bed because he didn't dare to disobey the words of the angel. But he felt the mission was kind of strange for a king, because why should he rob? He can ask to have something. It's all his. But he didn't want to disobey, so he put on his helmet and went to the hallways. When he passed along the halls, all his knights were asleep. Even the stable guard was asleep. The only creature awake was his horse. The horse neighed loud and long at the approach of his master. He mounted his horse and rode out of the castle. He rode into the dark forest, saying to himself, "It is the will of the Lord that I rob this night. But as I am a little bit confused, I shall gladly meet Albagast." Albagast is a famous thief who lives in the forest. I'm sure he could help me. Wondering what he was going to do and how he was going to rob, the king entered the dark forest. Then suddenly, by the feeble light of the moon, there was a knight approaching him. The knight also seemed to have approached Charlemagne, for he ran forward, and soon they stood facing each other. The strange knight, as you can see, was clothed in black armor from head to foot. He rode a black horse covered with a black cloth. He looked at the king as if he wanted to know who it was, so late at night in the forest. On the other hand, the king as well was very curious about the knight clothed in black. I wonder whether he is evil or not, thought the king. I have heard very strange stories happening in these forests at night. With that, the king took his word, but the black knight was the first to speak. Who are you? Armed and wandering in this forest at night. Are you a servant of the king, coming to discover whether Albogast is in this forest to be trapped? If you're searching for Albogast, who we call a thief, I tell you to search in vain. He is swifter than the wind, more cunning than a fox, and knows more of this wilderness than the wolves and deer inhabit. Charlemagne, the king, now spoke up. My ways are my own. It is not for you to question. No one but the king demands my going or my coming. If my words or my presence here not suit you, well, you may draw your sword, but I will kill you. Whereupon Charlemagne took his sword and stood at guard. The black knight was as fast as the wind. His own sword flashed in the moonlight, and the two were soon in desperate battle. Blow after blow was delivered by the emperor and was returned by force with the black knight. At last, the king struck Charlemagne so fiercely upon the helmet that his own sword fell in pieces, and he stood defenseless before the king. I don't want to kill a defenseless man, said Charlemagne to the knight, but you will declare yourself or I shall kill you as you stand. The black knight replied, Sir, I am thief Albogast. I have lost all my property, and the king has driven me away of my country. I find my living by stealing and robbing. Now do with me what you want. Ah, said Charlemagne, if you are really the thief Albogast, who can help me with my robbery, then please help me, because only this night I will be a thief as well. So, do you know anyone who we can rob? Can we rob the king? No, I will not rob the king, said Albogast, because even though he has taken my property and banished me from my home, I shall not hurt his kingdom. I only rob those who I don't like, who take money from people. Charlemagne was very happy hearing that, because, a knight who has respect for him, and the knight also didn't know that he was the king, because he was wearing a helmet. Then he spoke, do you know then anyone who we can rob tonight? Well, there is Count Egeric, who we can rob. I have heard that he has plotting against the king. So, let's go there. I was on my way already. Lead on, said Charlemagne. We will lighten him off his hurt. Soon, they reached the count's castle. Albogast broke a hole in the wall, crept through, and told Charlemagne to follow him. They soon found themselves in the count's room. The count, who was a light sleeper, heard this noise and said to his wife, Wife, honey, I hear a noise of someone coming into the house. I think there are robbers. I should look and get up and see. He stood up, lit a torch, and searched in every room and hall in his house. But the king and Albogast had already slipped under the bed of the count, so the count couldn't find anyone. He went back to his room, not knowing that they were already under the bed. The countess said to her husband, My dear husband, there were no robbers in the house as you have found. I think it's just mind, because you're stressed about something and think you have a plot. Could you tell me? Maybe I can help you. The count replied to his wife, Since tomorrow is the time of the purpose I have in mind, I don't hesitate to tell you, but me and 12 kings, we have sworn to murder the king. He has forbidden us to make camps on the roads and take toll of passers-by. Nobody knows of our intention though, so please keep it a secret. Don't tell anyone. Charlemagne, who is under the bed, heard everything. As soon as they heard everything, they slipped from under the bed and stole everything from the house. The king hurried home. He put his horse in the stable and went back in his room without telling anyone that he had left. In the morning, the king called his councils around him and said, "Last night I had a weird dream. I dreamt that Count Egeric and of his knights would come to my castle today with the intention of murdering me. They hate the peace that I have brought in this country, so be sure to have troops of armed men ready to seize them." About noon, the king and his councils and his knights came riding to the court of the castle. The gates were closed behind them, and armed men surrounded them. "What does this mean when I want to see the king?" cried the count in alarm. "What does it mean when you want to see the king?" asked the leader of the armed men, tearing the clothes off the count and his knights, taking off the armor of the knight. The count had no answer. He was led before the king, who told him all the details of his shameful plot. The count thought his wife had betrayed his secret, but he had no chance to find out because within 1 hour, he and his men were hanging from the limbs of a tree in the courtyard of the castle. As for Albogast, he was received with honor and forgot his old life as a robber in the forest. The end.